Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I hope you all are doing well. I want to speak with you guys about something that I spoke to someone about not too long ago. And one of the things that I told him is basically not to allow yourself to miss out on opportunities because of things that you heard or things that you believe about a specific organization or group. So, for example, some people are leery about working for the government for different reasons. Oh, well, I read this and that, and this is what's going on behind the scenes, and this is what's happening here or there. But a lot of times, it's not what they've experienced ever, but what they've read, and perhaps what someone who worked for the government told them. Some people, they don't join the army, they don't join the military. Oh, I heard this happens to you guys. I heard that you guys are like rat labs for experiments. And I will tell you, being someone that's been in the military, retired from the military, that is not true. What happens is whenever there is some sort of a breakout outbreak, the military will be the first to that get the vaccines or the treatments that's needed because the military cannot afford to have their troops compromised. If their troops are compromised and sick and dying, then it's going to make it easy for enemies, foreign and domestic, to attack. So, no, the military is not putting their soldiers, airmen, marine, seamen at risk just because. Okay? I have received the best medical treatment ever being in the military. All right? You're not going to go without getting your teeth cleaned twice a year. It literally comes up. If you have a cavity, hey, you need to get that cavity fixed because a toothache can really put you down where you cannot carry out the mission. They're that meticulous about your health. It's not quack doctors that works in the military, quack surgeons, people just, the taxi driver that wants to do heart surgery. It's nothing like that. These are medical doctors that's gone to school that enter into the military. Okay, there's no medical school, military medical school. These are people who have gone to civilian schools and everything, and they come in and they work as medical doctors in their field. So that's all I have to say about that. But sometimes people get their information. I'm talking about the military here, but there are other scenarios by people who has either did not retire. I doubt if anyone really sat down with retirees to know about the military, but they talked to people who, they got out or they got kicked out of the military, or they had a bad experience and they got out, so they painted the whole military like that. And also, based on their bad experience, they get out, they have this impression that this is what the entire military is like, but they never utilize your chain of command. They never did that. So for example, if you have a problem on level 1, I'm just saying level 1 for an example, and you can't resolve it at level 1, you have the right to go to level 2. No one can stop you. They may try because they don't want you to go to level 2 because it's going to bring light to them, but that's not going to stop you. Then you go to level 2, you realize level 2 and level 1 are buddies. You're like, no, I want to go to level 3. And you can say, you know what, I just want to go all the way up to level 10. Now, they normally say try to work it out at the lowest level, but you can. If you feel like, I don't want to talk to any of you guys, I'm going to go to level 10. You can do that. But a lot of times you find people don't do that. And personal courage is something that many people lack because they're afraid, they feel uncomfortable, they don't want to, they are scared, they're afraid of the backlash. They just stay at level 1 being mistreated by someone who is abusing their authority or not doing the right things. But it's not an overall picture of the entire military. Now, I'm not here trying to tell anybody that you have to join. I always talk to people who sometimes, if your back is against the wall and you find yourself, you've been kicked out, you have nowhere to go, you're getting into trouble, you just don't know what else to do, nothing that you're trying to do helps you, I would say join the military. Okay, that's what I say. Join the military. You're going to get a job. You're going to get discipline. You're going to get housing. You're going to get food. You're going to get health care. You're going to get a trade. You're going to learn your strengths, your weaknesses, and how to work through that. And you don't have to stay in for 20 years. Okay, I believe right now the military is between 4 to 6 years, your first enlistment. You do that. If you don't want to, you can get out. Okay, I have a family member who joined the military, and they already had in their mind, I'm not staying in the entire time. I just want to go to school, so I'm going to serve. But they focused on school. I believe they did 8 years, got their college degree, got their degree that they needed, got out, and now is doing very well, very successful. But they served, they did their part, and got the benefits of what what was in exchange for their service. So the point that I'm telling you is, in terms of the military, even though I've stayed on this quite a bit, don't let people tell you scary stories of this is what they're going to do and this is what you're going to do, and oh, this could happen. A lot of times you're listening to someone who did not finish, who only experienced, they went to one place where the individual abused their authority. They probably were afraid to go up, or they tried to, and then they just stayed at the second level, because truly there are sometimes people, they don't listen because they know the person at level 1, so level 2 is like, oh well, so you keep going up. But people sometimes just don't have that courage. They don't have the courage to do it, or they just rather just get out. They're like, I'm just done, I'm just going to get out. And to each his own. There's nothing wrong with that. There are people who have left the military and they're successful. There are people who's never entered the military and they're successful and doing well. Okay? But what I always tell people is, don't just listen to things, and don't get caught up in a bunch of conspiracy theories. There are people who, you're going to end up missing out on opportunities because you have people telling you things about certain organizations and people, and oh, I heard these people are this way, and I heard that person is that way, and this person, they're a part of this organization, is a part of the Illuminati, and this person is a part of this group, and masonry is at the foundation of this business. And I'm like, guys, if you're living this life, where are you going to work at? Where are you going to work? Are you going to be a farmer, or are you going to be a fisherman? Because why do you accept your paycheck? You get your paycheck from the government. Why do you go to the postal service? Can you trust the post office? That's the government. Where's your mail going? Do they open it before they send it across town? You end up being in this constant mindset that it can cause you to lose out on things that God wants to bless you and give you. You can miss out on jobs. You can miss out on things that God wants to give to you. We're in the world, but we're not of the world. But most things in this world, there's a government that establishes that particular country, region, no matter what. There's this whole hierarchy of ways that things are done. So unless you are quitting your job and just quitting everything, you're just going to go and work for your church. And even then, your church is getting money from somewhere. They're getting their donations from somewhere. Like, who donated? Even if it's a nonprofit organization, how do you know that someone from the government did not donate? How do you know that they didn't get their funds from the government? You see what I'm saying? So you are never going to escape that. Never. Now, of course, God's not going to tell you to take a job as a hitman or as an assassin or something like that. But what I do tell you all is, let me give you the example that I gave this person. The Lord sent Joseph to Egypt. He ended up going to Egypt. And not only was he there he ended up going there as a slave, well, his brother sent him there. But it was Joseph's destiny to go there. And Joseph became second in command from the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh put his ring on his finger. And Joseph had an Egyptian wife. And Joseph had children with an Egyptian woman. And Joseph, I guarantee you, if he was second in command from Pharaoh, had to have been wearing Egyptian regalia. And why I say this is because his brothers did not even recognize him. You're not going to be an Egyptian with a beard. You're not going to be an Egyptian with long hair. More than likely his hair was cut short, and he would have had on all the regalia, to include if they were wearing these things back then, the eye makeup. I'm sure they don't call it eye makeup, but that's the only way I can put it. He wore those things, and he lived there. I mean, once he discovered his brother, he didn't say to Pharaoh, Pharaoh, let me go and be with my family. His family came and lived in Egypt, and they were thriving. I also told this person that I'll share with you that Jesus, as a baby, along with Mary and Joseph, were sent to Egypt by the angel of God. He needed to go there and live there for a while. We don't know how old he was. We don't know how old Jesus was when he returned. Abraham, I believe, had married an Egyptian. I think one of those guys did. I'm sorry, I can't recall. But if you read the book of Chronicles, which it's kind of hard to read, but it's well worth it, you'll see a lot of information that's there, that's documented, that you will probably miss just reading the other chapters. But First and Second Chronicles have a lot of information. And you may be tempted to not read it because it sounds like it's going back into the book of Kings, like, oh, I already read that. But what it does, it details and gives you a lot of information about who did what and where and why and who married who. It's very interesting, the book of Chronicles. But what I'm saying is, we're in the world, we're not of it. But God can still place you for your success, for you to do well, for you to thrive. He can place you somewhere that people would be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. But everything belongs to God. And so be very careful when you're being given opportunities, that you don't allow the naysayers and the conspiracy theory people to come around you and to tell you not to take a job, not to do this. Don't you know that they're part of the Illuminati? Don't you know that they're part of the, don't you know that they're a part of the Shriners? Don't you know that, don't take your kids to St. Jude's because it's the Masons that own St. Jude's. So you just let your child just die off because you don't want to take them to St. Jude's. I'm like, where you get your clothes from? Where you get your food from? Who made this bread? Where did they get the funding? You will live a paranoid life, and you'll end up missing out on a lot of things. I'm not saying that we should not be vigilant. I'm not saying that we should not be careful. Certain things, it's not for everybody. Just because I was in the military and I succeeded and I'm done and I'm retired does not mean that that's what everybody's path is. We all have different paths. But what I'm telling people is not to think this is not your path because you're thinking of things that you don't even know. You're thinking of people that tell you stuff. Well, you know, her son joined and her son went to work for this person. Her son went overseas. They took a contracting job and he disappeared and he never came back. That has nothing to do with your situation. Whatever happened, as sad as it is, does not mean that will be your fate. It does not mean you go into the conspiracy theory that the government did this and the government did that. Am I saying the government is completely innocent and there's not things that probably happens that we don't know about? I'm not saying that at all. There are things that people have spoken about, things that's been disclosed that you find out, it's like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. But is that the government on a whole or a group of people who do certain things that gets found out? And at the end of the day, we're going to work. You're going to find, even if you're working, you're still going to have to do your taxes. You don't want to pay your taxes, then you're going to escape and live this life, and you're going to move away and try to hide into bed and be off the map. So now you're living this different type of life that you were never meant to live. While certain things are not for you and you should absolutely not do it, Do not live a life where you're not being vigilant, and it's not about discernment. You're being paranoid, and you're basically slapping the hand of God when he's trying to give you something. No, no, no. I can't go there. I can't do this. If your adult child is trying to make certain moves, you're putting fear in them and telling them about this. You remember what happened, and you remember this, and remember this riot, and remember this act, and remember when this happened, and remember when this president was in power, and remember what happened. You don't know what can happen to you, and people are disappearing. Well, you could disappear right there off your block. You can disappear from you're in a restaurant in your hometown with your family. You get up and go to the bathroom. There's people who've disappeared just that way. So don't miss out on opportunities. Don't miss out on things that God may be blessing you with to do well. It may be long term, it may be short term, it may be a stepping stone to get you into a certain position, but don't live this paranoid life. And this is something that I think may not really sit well with some people, because a part of some people who are believers, they do live this life of paranoia, and they get so closed into what could happen and what could happen that they just close themselves in. And we have to know the difference and have a balance between what is of God and what is not. What is caution and what is paranoia? What is discernment and vigilant, or you just being scared, or you not want to do something, or just follow what someone told you? Never just follow a bunch of people. See what God has for you. Even if everybody in your family worked at this place, it doesn't mean that you're supposed to work there too. And just because everyone in your family or people that you know say, don't do it. Oh, I heard this, I heard that, I heard that. Does not mean that God does not want you to work there. So be prayerful. Be vigilant. God has given us senses so we can know between right and wrong. And then he through his spirit can give you the discernment to know what's right. There's sometimes you have a piece already to do something, but then you go ask somebody something and then they talk you out of it, and then you get uncertain and unsure. And so now you're at ground zero. But there's a lot of people that's going to miss out on their opportunities, or have missed out on opportunities to excel, to do well, to achieve, to go off to school, to go off to college, to take a job, to take a contracting position, to do certain things, and they never did it. Because they were told all these things, the conspiracy theories about the white man, the conspiracy theories about people overseas, the conspiracy theory about foreigners, the conspiracy theory about these group of people, a conspiracy theory about what's going to happen to you. And they've never been there. And sometimes you look at these individuals, they haven't achieved much. They just have a whole lot of folk tales and things to tell you about what someone told them. And then some of them, while they've succeeded, maybe God wants you to do something different, take a different path. And others, they don't want you to go anywhere because you are a benefit to them. So they'll talk you out of that, so that when you're in this little, just think about it, you're in a baby pool, right? Imagine yourself in a little pool that they have for kiddies. And you feel like, you know what? I feel like I'm old enough now to go over there and get into the adult pool. I think I'm ready to do that. But they want you to be in the kiddie pool still. Your feet, you're no longer just a tiny tot in that kiddie pool. Your feet is touching the other side of the pool. It's barely covering you up anymore. And you know you have the ability to do this, but they're saying, no. Stay right here. And sometimes people will do that and fill you with a whole bunch of fear. And you never try your hand. Put in your applications. I always tell people there are many federal jobs and there are many contracting positions. I also say go to school. You may not have money for school, but see if you could get, grants and things like that to go to school. You go to school online. There are different ways and different things that you can do. But if you always listen to people that's telling you no, and this is this, And the white man's gonna get you, and the black man's gonna get you, and the Spanish people's gonna get you, and the European people's gonna get you, and this and that, and my friend, this is what happened, and they did this, and their daughter got killed, and their son died, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened. You're never ever going to excel. You're never ever going to succeed. You're never ever going to go beyond the porch. So just think on the things that I'm saying and realize, regardless, Joseph went to Egypt and he wore Egyptian regalia, but yet it was ordained by God for him to be there. Jesus as a baby was sent to Egypt. Mary and Joseph was sent to be there to protect him from Herod at the time. And he lived there for an undisclosed period of time. Who would have been talking about Mary and Joseph and saying that they're on the wrong path? But God sent them there for a purpose and a reason. Jesus had a purpose, and he will now re-emerge from Egypt to do what he was called to do. Joseph was sent to Egypt, and he stayed there. And let's not forget about Moses. Moses was sent to Egypt for a time, and he was sent there to call his people out from this place. He was sent there. So there's always purpose in everything. Sometimes you're sent there, and you're going to stay there, and you're going to thrive, and you're going to succeed. Other times you're going to go there, you're going to thrive and succeed like Moses did. But now he had another thing. He had another mission when he left Egypt. He had to go back because people were being held captive there. They were being held captive. So he had to be a voice and, a beacon of light for the people. So never, ever, ever just think this cannot be God. God would never, because of what I read and what I said, regardless of any government, regardless of any group that's put into position, God owns all things. And if he says you're going to go here, this is where I want you to go, you better go. And not listen to people and the folklore, folktale, their experience, what happened to them. What happened to them does not mean it's going to happen to you. All right, guys, don't miss out.